What is it that makes a house a home? It's not materials, it's not construction, it's memory, it's experience living in a place. And today we're about to tell the story of a remarkable young woman who took an old derelict hut on her family property and together with her father, renovated it into a true home for herself. Hi Lucy, how are you?
Good, how are you, Bryce?
I'm really well, and it's so nice to be here.
Thank you for coming round.
It is my pleasure. This is such a charming little cabin you've got here.
Thank you, it's very special.
It certainly is. Yeah. First of all, can you just talk to me about how it was that you came to be here?
I grew up on this property that my parents own. They bought it in 1994, which is when they originally constructed this little bush hut behind me. And then over time, it became abandoned as they built a new house up on the hill. And I decided reuse, recycle, and made it happen. And now we're here.
That's so cool. I love that the cabin just immediately has that family history for you.
Yeah, there's lots of layers to the hut, from its interior and its exterior, the land itself. Yeah, and I'm very sentimental in that way.
And this is a very special property, isn't it? It's beautiful here.
We're very, very lucky. It's 8 acres. We've got a creek running through. We've got pasture and forest. And then within the forest, we've got trees, some of the biggest trees in the area, and cliff edges that kind of turn into small caves as well.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, when the rain comes, which hopefully it doesn't today, but it turns into waterfalls and it's really special. Yeah, it's great.
What a playground.
Yeah.
And you host some pretty special events here, don't you?
I do. So with my mate Matthew, we run open mics in this space. We wanted to create a safe space where anyone could express themselves in their creative language that they choose. So they come here and they share poetry, they might just share something written from their journal, or they might sing, or we might just end up jamming. There's lots of dancing and fire twirling, and the whole purpose of this renovation was to create a safe space. And I think we've done that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And tell me about your cabin. This just looks so rustic and cool.
Ever since I was a kid, obsessed with houses and space and what to do with space. And when I was 16, I started researching tiny homes. It was before travelling, before doing anything, I wanted to build a house. And I was walking around here, going for a swim in the creek, and the hut was really, really bad, full of black mould, just you wouldn't think it was savable. So I'm going through this journey of I want a house, and you know, a part of it is you want to live as ethically as possible. And then I was like, it's right there in front of me. Why am I not rescuing this space? So I ran up the hill, I asked Dad, do you think it's savable? And he said, yep, the foundations aren't rotten, let's do it. And we started pretty much the next day, ripped it all out, pretty much like she was a skeleton again. I reused everything I possibly could that we had ripped out. Everything else, unfortunately, either did come first hand or from the tip, and we made it happen over 3 years. So before me, Mum and Dad built it in 1994 in parts. It was originally like a classic tiny house. Then they built onto it and it's become that hut or that cabin-like space that we've got now. I was with them here for 2 years, and... This
is when you were little?
Yeah.
That's so nice.
It's conceived in the loft, as Dad likes to remind me. Mum went on into labour on the floor in the kitchen. And then, she fell pregnant with twins though, so they ran up the hill and built a house there. And then after that, people just started knocking on Mum and Dad's door of word that there was this little house in the bush, other hippies that needed a place to stay. And Mum and Dad are very generous people, so they just invited them in and they said, just give what you can. I've got one of the original paintings in here that was used for rent at one period of time. So we had a lot of people come through, but unfortunately over time, the place became run down. Some people did take advantage of the space, and eventually it wasn't livable.
And you did the renovation together with your dad, and that must have been just such a lovely bonding experience for you.
Yeah, it was good. A lot of bickering, but we still never blew our tops, which is nice. But no, it was really special to share that with Dad because it was his initial project. I mean, I didn't know anything about tools. The goal was show me how to do it so that by the end of it, I can do it don't get me wrong, some parts of the house where I was like, I cannot do this, that he totally gets credit for. Like the floor, many tears. I had to leave that. And now he's getting older and I'm the one doing all the fixer-ups at home for mum, so it's nice.
And it's great that you've got those skills now. And with this cabin here, are you off the grid?
No, I wish. The water doesn't flow enough to create power that way.
Right.
We, if you cannot tell, are about to lose sun for 4 months, so that's not going to work. Even if I had movable panels, it still wouldn't work because eventually the whole property, other than the house on the top, will be in the shade.
Yeah.
But I hardly use any power. During the winter time, it's gas, it's the fireplace. Mostly just the fireplace, to be honest.
Yeah.
I light a candle here or there.
And your water comes from the creek?
It does. Because it's just me living here, I hardly use any water, so I haven't filled up the tank in maybe a year. It's the first time the creek hasn't flowed in 26 years.
Wow.
It's a little bit concerning, but I've accepted that.
And you've gone for the outdoor bathroom here.
Yes, a very outdoor bathroom. Initially it was just a shower hooked up on the side of the hut, and now I've just got this little tin shed over behind you and it works. I think I might close it off a little bit. Now I'm showering, I'm feeling a bit cold. Admittedly, I had a shower up at mum and dad's last night, which is always nice because I get to share dinner with dad as well. It's nice having mum and dad there because we're friends.
For sure.
And yeah, we can spend that time together.
And what size is your cabin?
It's a very good question. I don't know. There's about 3 different rooms to the space and then 4 additional spaces added onto it, like the hallway and the attic. And admittedly, I've never measured it.
You built the space, but you didn't measure it.
Not the entirety of the space, no. I measured what I had to at the time, cut it, and that was it.
Well, all right then. Okay, we'll leave that one a mystery.
Yeah.
Well, I am so intrigued to see the inside. Can we take a look?
Yeah, come on in.
All right. This is so cool. It really feels incredibly cozy in here.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping for. It's meant to feel like a proper sanctuary, proper home. Even more cozy when the fire's going.
Yeah, this fire is definitely quite a feature, isn't it? It's a big fire for this space.
It's a big fireplace in comparison to a lot of tiny homes that you probably visit on the show, but it's what we need in this space because the space is actually a lot bigger than people think.
Right.
And admittedly, the entire house isn't insulated.
Right.
Only parts of it.
Gotcha. So definitely a big fire is a necessity here.
It's a necessity.
And immediately we've stepped into your lounge, which again just looks like such a welcoming space.
Yeah, people just accumulate around here. I have a lot of potlucks, a lot of humble dinners and people around for cups of tea. So it's really important that we had a nice soft landing space for ourselves.
Yeah. And there's a lot of colour in here, a lot of art. It's quite a vibrant space. Can you talk to me about the style?
It's kind of just happened naturally over time. I'm a very sentimental person, so a lot of things in this home have actually come from growing up, things that I've loved, that I've kept. For some people it might look like too much, especially with minimalism being really desirable at this time, but for me every single thing in this home I love and I know, and it has a place. I describe myself as a little bird. I like to collect things for my nest.
And especially when you do have a connection to all of those items, it really goes a long way to making the space feel more homey for you and really connecting you to a place, doesn't it?
It does. And what's even more special is, you know, this is my first home and it's very much, this is where my roots are. I'm a very creative person. I want people to walk into this space and they see my soul, basically.
Yeah, I definitely feel like you've achieved that here. And tell me about your kitchen.
Look, she's not the best design, okay? The layout's not the best, but again, I've tried to keep it as original as possible to the initial build that Mum and Dad did. The kitchenette is exciting though for me anyway, because my granddad that I never met actually built it. Then my dad grew up with that kitchenette in the house that he lived in with his family as a kid. And then he brought it here, and over time everyone has painted this kitchen a different colour, which I discovered after I started sanding it back. And I decided to keep all the different layers to pay homage to the history of the place.
And in doing so as well, it also just looks really artful. It's actually turned it into a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
What's it like to cook here?
Yeah, pretty easy. Admittedly, if I'm not here on my own or I know Dad's up at his house on his own, I really like to go up there and have dinner with him, and I can kind of share that quiet time with him, which I don't get much of. And then again, when Mum comes home, I haven't seen her, so I like to go up and see her as well. But when I am down here though, yeah, it's a great little place to cook. There's plenty of space. If I can, I use the fireplace. The only thing with the fireplace is sometimes it actually just gets too hot, so you've got to be careful of that. But yeah, there's plenty of room.
Yeah.
Plenty of room.
And what do we have next door?
Come on in and I'll show you.
All right. This looks like a very eclectic space.
It's definitely where I come together to be creative, not just on my own, but I spend a lot of creative time with my best friend Ollie in this space. That's kind of how we connect and bond, and then, yeah, sharing Zentai shiatsu and making music late at night when no one's around. It's great. It's everything I need.
Great. And how did you get into the massage work?
It's always been something that's on my mind, but it wasn't until a dear friend of mine, after I quit teaching, suggested, I think you need to give it a go. So, and at that time, a girlfriend of mine had just come back from doing a 9-month course in bodywork, and she took me on as her little student. So everything aligned together. It came together really nicely, and it was just meant to happen. And yeah, so I've just done my first course, but hopefully in the future I'll do the whole 9-month course, and I will move away from the hut for a while to do that, but you got to, fly the nest at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're a musician.
Yeah, part-time. I love singing. It's the best feeling in the world ever since I was a kid. In saying that, I haven't always sang solo. It's only the last year and a half that I've really been sharing my own personal original music. Again, though, I'm kind of like a writer first. I've got an English major, so I really appreciate poetry and literature. And then singing makes me feel good, and expression, because again, I've got a few different backgrounds, and then there's the theatre background. So performing arts is it's where I'm at, it's what I know, it's where I'm comfortable. So writer first, singer second, instrumentalist. I'm not really sure where that lands, but it's there.
It's there, somewhere in the mix.
It fills the gaps.
Yeah. Lovely big window in this room as well, really connecting you to the outdoors here, which of course is so good for that creative space, eh?
It's so important. And actually what's really cool about the windows themselves is when Dad initially did the first build, everything he built the house out of was recycled. So these windows actually come from an old hospital that was getting knocked down.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got really, really lucky. I love the red window, the contrast between the colours of the outside and the inside coming together. It's really nice.
It certainly is. And talk to me about all of the furniture in this house, because again, it's quite a collection.
Yeah, it's all from the tip shop. Kind of go in hoping that it'll be there, and it usually is. And I didn't need to get anything firsthand.
Oh, the things that people throw away.
I know, it's devastating, but great for me.
Great
so
for
in a way,
you.
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's above us?
This is the loft, and the loft is the only space that has not been given any tender love and care. I have chosen not to renovate it at this time. I might do one day, but for now it works really well for storage. You can go up there through the door and sit on the roof, have a cup of tea under the stars if you're feeling it.
Cool.
But initially the loft was the main bedroom for my parents when they were here. And so it was Mum, me in the middle as a newborn, and Dad, and they were pretty happy up there.
That's so special. Yeah.
So, Bryce, this painting here in front of us, this is an example of the type of rent people would pay when they stayed here. This piece of artwork has been done by a local artist that's done very well here in Tasmania. She just lives around the corner with her family, and my dad, again, they help build each other's homes. Yeah. It's great. I love the community.
So cool. I love that too, and I love the way that you've kept the story entangled in the home.
Yeah, so important, because it's not my space, it's everyone's space.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And of course your bedroom is now through there. Can we take a look at that?
Come on in.
Again, this is such a nice space, and it feels like this cozy little nook that's so wonderfully connected to nature again with these big windows.
Yeah, and the windows being nice and low to the ground as well, so it makes me feel a little bit closer to the earth. And the trees kind of grow over the top of the bedroom, and I just feel so like I'm sleeping outside. Plus the room isn't insulated, and in some corners of the room I can see light coming through, but
Really?
It's okay, it works.
And tell me about the way that you've styled it in here.
Admittedly, I don't froth the room as much as I would like when it comes to the art that's in here. It's kind of what I had left. If anything, I think the windows is what makes the room, not necessarily how I've styled this one.
And I think you're really right. Looking at this room, one of the things that really does stand out to me is those lowered windows and what an impact that makes on the space. Because from the perspective of having the lower bed and just that wonderful vision to the outdoors, the way that this is all set up really just pulls you into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it's this feeling of Mama Earth's cradling me and the trees, and I feel incredibly safe. I know every stick and stone and tree in this forest, so it's very familiar to me. Yeah, and what's really nice is when you're lying in bed at night and there's been a few days of rain, there's a waterfall up the back and you can hear the waterfall and then you can hear the creek, and then there's some bird baths out the window and they fill up and the little pandannies prick up and they're happy, and yeah, it's super lovely. It's very much like you're camping all the time. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I love how connected to the space you are. You were conceived here, you were born here, you spent the first few years of your life living here, and now as an adult you get to revisit the space and make it your own. Tell me what that's like.
It's really exciting. It's like doing a 360. I've come back home. As well, I shared this space with Mum and Dad before my brothers came along, and I was their firstborn. So there's something, I love my brothers, but there's something really, really special about having that one space that's ours, and having that connection. With the generations, you've got Mum and Dad, and then you had me, and then there were other babies here in the 90s. And then admittedly one day, like, I would like to have my first baby here. This is where I want to have my first baby. Again, like I've said, I'm a very sentimental person, so.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to our homes, it's really easy for us to imagine ourselves living in the spaces that we create. But of course, these are spaces that so often outlive us and outlive our own stories, and they change hands and move into other people's possession, and that sort of impermanence of life is really reflected in architecture. And I love the way that you have made all of those different transitions and stories such a part of this home that will extend even so far beyond your habitation.
Yeah, it's not a house, it's a home. And I think some people living in houses, which is great if it works for them, but I live in a home and it will remain a home.
I love that.
It was so nice to connect with Dad through things that he likes doing, and conveniently I also really like doing. So it's something we could share together. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice, and I'll be able to hopefully share that with my family one day as well. He's taught me how to do it. I'll teach someone else how to do it.
So the hut has existed here since 1994.
Yeah.
You have rebuilt it together with your father using a whole bunch of found and reclaimed materials. Can you talk to me about the cost that was involved in making the space yours and bringing it back to life?
So because it was a team effort, I got a little bit lucky there. I think in total about $6,000.
Geez, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think it's just electricity that was the big one. The toilet was $1,000, and then, yeah, the rest of the materials.
Yeah. And now you've got your lovely cozy home here. What is your next adventure?
My next adventure, that is a loaded question. So, yeah, I'm a very goal-oriented person. So the next 2 years, I'm full-time guiding when the season comes around. Between that, I'm travelling, so I'm actually hoping someone else will be able to indulge in this space. Maybe one of my brothers will be able to indulge in this space for the first time in their lives. Yeah, and then I'd like to come to New Zealand and indulge in the tiny house community, or just a community space.
Yeah.
Do my Zentai, get that EP out. Yeah, my dreams are, honestly, my number one dream is I've just always wanted to build a house from scratch ever since I was a kid, which some people are real like, oh God, why are you settling down? For me, it's not a settled thing. It's a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
This for me is freedom.
I love that. Well, I love that through doing this project, you've got the skills to make that happen for yourself, and I cannot wait to see what you build next. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful home with me.
Thanks for popping in. Yeah, cheers.
This is a house that, for me, so perfectly encapsulates the essence of home. It's so rare for me to visit a space where somebody has a lifelong connection, and that is exactly what Lucy is lucky enough to have here. Here, she's so connected to the land, she's so connected to this home, but more than all of that, she's also so beautifully connected to her family, and really, that's all that matters.